wars in China, hooray. I cannot join that war. I'm hoping there will be some kind of event or pop-up because I want to send a couple of divisions to help out. And that seems to not be an option for me. Sedantag. After the Franco-German War of 1870-71, the Sedantag was established to celebrate our victory at Sedan, where we captured the last French emperor, Napoleon III, and the cream of their army. Originally a holiday to honor the Prussian military, the Sedantag transformed into a celebration of the Reich's foundation, and after the Weltkrieg, the humbling of its forces. In every town and village from Aachen to Memel, every street is decorated in black, white, and red. Every bell proudly proclaims this day of celebration. Nobles, soldiers, and innumerable veterans parade proudly through the streets, cheered by the happy masses. Indeed, this is a good day. A day that reminds us of the peace and prosperity we have enjoyed since the forging of the Reich. Heil dem Kaiserreich. And that's basically something that every nation in Kaiserreich gets. Every single nation has an event pop-up that is essentially a national holiday. The Commune of France has Bastille Day. The Union of Britain has Guy Fawkes Day. Let's see. The US obviously has the 4th of July. I'm not sure what the Dominion of Canada's got or anyone else. Those are the only ones I really know about. But yeah, what it does is gives you like 10 more political power and it's some flavor text about the anniversary of the nation. In the case of Germany, it's the founding of the Reich and the defeat of the Second French Empire is what we get. Now I just gotta hope I get some event or something that will let me intervene over here. Because otherwise we ain't gonna be able to. Revolutionaries take Mongolia. Much like Tibet, news from the Mongolian capital Urga is sparse. For many years, the status quo of the nation has been the leadership of the Russian Baron Roman von Ungern-Sternberg. However, recently news has come out that after a revolt in the west of the nation, the revolutionary Mongol Arden Nam overthrew Ungern-Sternberg while his army fought in the west. In a press release to the few media groups in Urga, the leader of the MAN stated that Mongolia is once again in the hands of Mongolians, and that now Mongolia will be transformed into a democratic state for all Mongolian people. The Mad Baron's rule is at an end. Mongolia has significantly changed from how it was even a few patches ago, because it used to be a regional superpower of sorts. And it was quite easy before with Mongolia to end up with a miniature empire of sorts. And have Moglik, Tibet, and parts of India and China under your rule with relative ease. But now, Mongolia is a relatively unstable nation that takes a lot of work to get in a good spot. And unfortunately, my few attempts at pulling that off have not gone particularly well. Jabal Shammar declared war on Najd and Hassa. That's these two nations in the Middle East, which together make up what we today know as Saudi Arabia. Easter Promises is done. I can't embrace the FAUD because we banned them. What I will do now, though, is democracy in Prussia. The current voting system in Prussia is archaic and undemocratic. The people are split into 3 stratas according to their income, with the lowest strata representing over 60% of the population receiving as many delegates as the upper one, which represents less than 10%. We should finally implement universal, secret, and equal franchise for all citizens of Germany, which will give us an extra 10% stability. Go for it. Besides, the Kaiser did promise something like this, apparently, so we should do something about it, I think. It would seem like a good idea. Okay. Sorry about that, everyone. I got interrupted to be handed some laundry by my dad. Not that we were doing much. Anyways. Arena Strikers Cave. A slow war of attrition between us and the Strikers has been won by the government. The Strikers, seeing little success in their efforts, have decided to call off the strike. We have our factory output back, and they have agreed to finally be good little underlings and quit striking. Much appreciated. Radicals win Serbian elections. That's unfortunate. Established at the end of 1925, the young Republic of Serbia has recently held the 3rd national election in its history. In Black Monday, renewed ethnic violence in Bulgaria, and creeping rumors of a shadow government in the military, the 1936 elections were made out to be the most contentious yet. After the ballots were counted, the Conservatives of the People's Radical Party emerged as the election's victors, entering a coalition with the Agrarian Party and ending their period of opposition. The declared aim of this great union is to build a rural Serbian democracy free of undue Western influence. Although despite this, rumors claim that the new president, Milan, last name I can't pronounce, may be drawing up a more drastic plan to save Serbia. Pragmatic Serbia for a pragmatic age? Question mark? Oh my god. Well, we say that, they're still probably going to invade Bulgaria, because that's what they do. And that war in the Middle East was nice and short. And the one who usually wins did indeed win. More naval program stuff. And this time I will begin the construction of a pair of battleships. I mean, we need carriers, sure, but we don't want exclusively carriers. Now, Costa Rica is requesting a German garrison. Interesting. Rising instability in the USA, the nearby regimes in Central America, forced the small nation to come to us for aid, reminding us of the strong ties between our two nations and the significant German population living in their territory. They asked that we station a small regiment in San Jose to deter foreign threats. Whilst this has short-term implications on our relations with the USA, we're sure that they will understand we are acting for the greater good. Yes, and besides, it's only a handful of men. Send the teenagers, they can get some practice in the military. We lose some infantry equipment and manpower. We're only sending 100 men anyways. And that send the teenagers thing was a joke, I should be clear. I am speaking from the perspective of a high-ranking German bureaucrat who is prioritizing the state over people. I feel like that needs to be explained because internet. And the Belgrade Pact exists now. Greece, Romania, and Serbia are now in alliance against the Bulgarians. This is the reason why I think Bulgaria might be an interesting nation to play in a future game of Kaiserreich. Because they start the game facing a prospective three-front war. While they have some advantages, they have a number of disadvantages, including, like I said, a war on three fronts. Which always happens. It's basically inevitable. Serbia, Romania, and Greece, the three Balkan members of the Entente, all with revanchist views of their own, have recently gathered to a common table of negotiations and have announced the beginning of the Belgrade Pact. While this pact puts a lot of focus on cultural discussions and preserving Balkan identities, it is also a military alliance between the participants, seemingly directed at the country separating them and holding their ancestral lands. This new development is a big thorn in Bulgarian domination of the Balkans, and only the incoming reaction of the other Central Powers can determine whether it will yield any fruit. Hopefully the Balkans won't start another world war. I don't think they will. War, yes. World War, not so much. The Legation Council votes on providing aid to Sichuan province, which, if you remember from earlier this stream, was one of these Chinese splinter states, which itself is currently experiencing a famine. As we have no reason to especially care about the fate of Sichuan, I am going to abstain. There's still no option for us to participate. In this war, to help to put down the rebellion by sending our own troops.
Ihre Befehle?
Unfortunately, I would if I could, but we really cannot. Democracy in Prussia has been finished. Now, we will restore the... Let's see here. Now, instead of that, I'm going to do the Kanzler and the radio. Crisis has shaken the Germans' belief in their country. Public faith is key, so starting a weekly radio address, or weekly radio addresses even, to announce what steps the government has taken to combat the crisis will help avoid panic and keep trust in our administration. It will also give us 15% more base stability, and getting our stability going up, getting our country stable again, is something we want and need. We've also gained enough manpower that I feel comfortable in starting to train up some divisions. Go, and for the moment I'll just plonk them in Brandenburg, and we can add them to the various armies as and when we need to. The Russian socialists have declared war on Central Asia. They are hard at work in the efforts to reclaim their empire. Unsurprisingly, the Legation Council has voted to provide aid for Sichuan. Not that we especially care. The Austrian Empire has announced its support for Bulgaria. On the initiative of Serbia, representatives of several countries have convened in Belgrade to discuss the political and military situation of the Balkans. In this 14-day-long event, Romanians and Greeks plot to create a so-called new order in the Balkans, even going so far as to create a 14-point resolution which declares that only the self-determination of people according to their ethnic allegiances may be considered a just path to sovereignty and territorial claim. Clearly, the Balkans are restless once again, and the resolutions of the Belgrade Congress will surely be used to justify a common war against Bulgaria and ultimately the Austrian Empire. The Austrians have called for an international arms embargo on the Balkan states to support Bulgaria. Shall we announce our support for the Bulgarians as well? I mean, honestly, I think it would be kind of nice if we could announce our support for the Serbians and the Belgrade Pact. I wouldn't do it because we're trying to keep the status quo to a large degree, but it would be nice to have the option. But yes, only Bulgaria will keep the Balkans stable. We'll join their arms embargo, I guess. Mustafa Kemal seizes power in the Ottoman Empire. Fed up by the constant bickering in the Ottoman Chamber of Deputies and hindered by a conservative and often royalist opposition, the Grand Vizier has used recent domestic events to centralize power around the position of the Grand Vizier. The Maintenance of Public Order Decree, issued in times of great crisis, has already led to the creation of various tribunals to sentence the enemies of the state and safeguard the Ottoman state. Though many question the true motives of the man, it is clear that he enjoys nigh full support by the military apparatus, greatly limiting the chances of a successful counter-coup. Is this a return to 1913? Very well could be, but the Ottomans are very unstable at this point and on the edge of war with the Egyptians and Persians and a number of other people, so it's quite likely that they will end up falling from power because of how that war turns out. And now, Jack Reed has been elected President of the United States. Despite the massive instability rampant in the nation ever since the Great Depression in 1925, the presidential elections went forward, and the voting results are clear. Jack Reed of the Socialist Party of America is the 31st President of the USA. Jack Reed turned into a savvy political operator during his time in Russia and is a dedicated proponent of syndicalism. This stance has made him many enemies in the American society, but the association of trade unions that he leads remains strong. The AFP already contests the election results, though. Let's see what this jumped-up journalist can do. Oh, Jack Reed as president? Well, I can already tell you what's not going to happen. The federal government is not going to win this war because Jack Reed, either the extremist factions taking power will lead to certain events that make it into a 4-sided civil war rather than a 3 or 2-sided one. If I'm remembering right, and they haven't changed anything, that is. So this is not going to go well for the federal government. And I think we're likely to see a syndicalist America, to be honest. Concentrated industry is done now. And we're close enough to 1937, I feel it's not too bad an idea to research things that are a tiny bit ahead of time. So, I will do improved machine tools to better our production efficiency. Oh, hello there, Carlos Spain? And Algerian coup d'etat? Fancy seeing you here. The thinly veiled military junta of Marshal Philippe Pétain has fallen to a coup d'etat led by one of his former allies, General Henry Mordoc. The legitimacy of the Marshal to rule had been steadily eroded by accusations of nepotism and corruption. An attempt to centralize power in his hands added accusations of tyranny to the long list of grievances towards him, precipitating the coup. Petain is now in custody, and General Modrak has been elected head of state. Though he has announced that civil liberties suspended under the previous regime would be restored, and promised an eventual return to full democratic rule, the general has announced that for the present, a Committee of National Salvation, made up of military men, experts, and parliamentarians, would be created to best implement the reforms he feels are needed to retake the French mainland. Yes, Petain, you should have seen this coming. Should have seen this coming. Okay. And CNTFAI is broken off as well. See, my naval small caliber bits are done. Right here. So let's see. Let's get the next level of light tank researching. Unsurprisingly, the Spanish have started a civil war now. The Carlists have declared war on both the CNTFAI and the Kingdom of Spain. It shouldn't be too long until the CNTFAI declares war on the Kingdom of Spain. But yeah, Spain is a bit of a hot mess at the moment. My heavy fighter and medium tank are done researching now. So we will proceed to next research radios, I think. And let's see here. And whatever this kind of train is. Because trains. Let's see. Construction is still underway in a lot of our stuff here. Liberia asks for aid. The Liberian government, crippled by the effects of Black Monday, not with their overwhelming national debt, has sent an envoy requesting the German government assist them with a bailout. We have our own issues to deal with, but the amount they desperately need is small by comparison. In return, it seems likely they will join our military alliance in time, for what that's worth. Is another African ally worth the expense of being so magnanimous? Fuck off, Liberia. Stop pretending anyone thinks you're important. We will not be helping fucking Liberia. No. They don't matter. And the only reason they exist is because they are currently America's puppet, and nobody cares enough to annex them. But yes, civil war in Spain. Ever since the defeat of Napoleon, Spain has been plagued by violence, dissent, and turmoil. No amount of pleading, deal-making, and appeasement has managed to do more than paper over the cracks as tensions bubbled. Finally, they boiled over. The Spanish kingdom has been ripped apart by a three-sided civil war between numerous factions. The loyalists of the Madrid government, the supporters of the pretender Javier, I think that's how you pronounce that, and finally the anarcho-syndicalist CNT-FAI. There are already numerous reports of volunteers and equipment being shipped to Spain from all over the world to support one faction or another. Spain will be torn to shreds as a battlefield for the ideological forces of the wider world. 'Twas inevitable, I'm afraid. Although the CNT-FAI isn't fighting the Spanish government yet. It's inevitable that they will be.